Welcome back. It's the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Are you thrown off? I know I'm a little thrown. I'm bringing it back. I don't know what's going on.
It worked.
Yes, I think it did, but we just lost it now. Aditi Kinkhabwala, formerly of the NFL Network, now on to bigger and better things. She's one of my best friends in the business, and most people in this business suck, and she doesn't, so that's why I love her. But she's an amazing reporter, and we're so happy to have her as the first official female guest on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
And can we point out how much we love her in Browns gear?
Look at that. She's got a Browns t-shirt on.
Well, I had my elf t-shirt on, but I've never worn black on camera since my first year on TV. It's like the black hair on the black shirt. It just doesn't work. But I do have my official elf gear. If that counts for anything.
Your connection to the Browns and to Cleveland goes deeper. Tell the story for those who don't know about how even though you live in Pittsburgh, you're originally from the... I always find it funny when people say, she's a Steeler fan. She grew up in New Jersey. She's not a Steeler fan. But she
covers the Steelers.
Yes.
Fan,
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Giants fan.
Tom Coughlin, the Giants, like the whole thing. I was born in New York City, grew up in New Jersey. I am indeed married to a Steelers season ticket holder. But
we won't hold that against you. Yeah.
There are plenty of other things to hold against us. But yes, actually, so 3 years ago, I was in Cleveland to cover the Titans at Browns season opening game. This was Freddie Kitchens' first official game as the head coach. And my daughter decided to push me into labor 8 weeks early. So sitting in a Cleveland hotel room at 32 weeks pregnant, my daughter decided it was time to show up. I went to the Cleveland Clinic. The gentleman who delivered my baby, the doctor who delivered my baby, had just heard me on the radio talking about Baker Mayfield and wanted to talk about Baker Mayfield when I was saying, hello, baby. And so my daughter was born in Cleveland, and we were stuck in Cleveland. And the Browns so lovingly sent us so much Cleveland gear. And I do need to bring this up. I was at a pro day a year ago, I think at the University of Georgia, and I had gone for a run. I was wearing Cleveland Browns gear to run, and I came back into the hotel, and Steelers general manager Kevin Colbert and Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin were there. And Kevin Colbert said, Aditi, what's with that Browns stuff? And I said, well, my daughter was born in Cleveland, and the Browns very lovingly sent us clothing because we had nothing, and it was free, so I wear it. And Mike Tomlin goes to me, hey, Aditi, you wear that free stuff. So there you go.
Hey,
that's good.
Big thing to like about Mike Tomlin.
$1,000 a year, and he says, you wear the free clothing. I'm going to wear the free clothing.
It's good advice. Always listen to Mike Tomlin.
And she looks great in it, too. So,
yes.
I mean, and by the way, you weren't stuck in Cleveland, Aditi. You were lucky enough to be in Cleveland.
Great hospitals.
That's a great story, though. I remember hearing it. You guys talk about it on the radio, and I thought, that baby is smart. Yep. That baby knew where she had a Cleveland was supposed to be born, and now you know. The rest is history.
Right.
You know, Jay, it's so funny, and you're an old friend. I believe that you are indeed old friends with Chris Rose. We talk about it. Is being born in Cleveland a badge of honor, or does that just set you up for a life of recognizing where we
both?
What's really tough and what's not?
No, you're exactly right. It is both.
It toughens you up to be from Cleveland because you learn to deal with adversity.
Right. And good people come from Cleveland.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's how we rationalize it.
Well, you have to do it somehow.
I know.
Yeah, right.
That's how we do the mental math. Aditi, I want to ask you about something that's pretty timely in the news cycle right now because we dealt with this on the show yesterday. But a big story here was Deshaun Watson blocking one of the Browns beat reporters, Daryl Ryder, on Twitter. We kind of discussed, are you concerned about that? Daryl, when he tweeted out the image of Watson blocking him, said, here he is, the new adult in the room. Are you concerned at all about that? I know you've dealt so much with athletes. What do you make of that?
Okay, so on multiple levels, let me start with Daryl. I started at the NFL Network 11 years ago, and Daryl Ryder was one of the first very, very kind people to me when I came into Cleveland. And you come in, you're brand new, you don't necessarily know anybody. This is truly a genuine human being who cares about people. He has been lovely in many, many ways. I don't love the idea of, I understand that now athletes like this idea of cutting out the middleman. And it almost goes back to the Players Tribune, even before athletes were taking control of their brands and their social media accounts. I appreciate that they want to get their message out on their own, but you're also losing a piece of the puzzle here. And that is that the media can indeed be valuable. And you can indeed, the same way that a reporter is looking for a story, you can also use a reporter to help disseminate information that you want to disseminate, to share your piece of the story that isn't necessarily getting told, to tell a piece of your story that isn't necessarily being told. And if you are the franchise quarterback in a new city that wants a new city to get to know you, then why are you cutting out a member of the media that you haven't even necessarily really met yet, who's trying to meet you with open arms and an open mind and say, hey, I want to share your story. I want to share who you are. I want to tell more of who you are than what the outside, perspective may be of you. That's not necessarily a full 360-degree view of you. So I don't love it. I really don't, especially this early in the game. Now, if this is somebody that has wronged you, that has not, in fact, met you with an open mind, okay, that's fair. But you've just gotten to town. You haven't really interacted with anybody yet. Why? I don't get that. I really don't.
Yesterday, Bull on the show said that he had reached out to Daryl, and Daryl didn't even know why he blocked him.
He didn't.
He couldn't come up with a specific story. And Aditi, to your point, that it doesn't serve Watson and his brand and his image well.
Right.
I would go to the next step too. As it pertains to Daryl, who I completely co-sign your remarks. He's one of the nicest, and same thing for me. My first day back in town, I was at Browns camp. Daryl was the first guy to come up to me, was very pleasant, super nice guy. But I did question why he would want to do that publicly, because now it seems like he's dug in on one side, Watson's on the other. And just like you said, Watson can use Daryl to get his message out. I don't know how Daryl covers the Browns, the biggest cover in town, with the wedge between he and the biggest player on that team. That's going to be problematic, I'm afraid, for Daryl.
And unfortunately, we've seen this, right? We saw Mary Kay Cabot, who has done a tremendous job covering the Browns for decades now, have that with Johnny Manziel. We saw Tony Grossi, who's covered the Browns for a very long time, have that with Baker Mayfield. This is where, Jay, I go back to, I mean, I'm aging myself when I say this, but I got into this profession 20 years ago. My very first editor told me, tell the story and get out of the way. It's not about you. It's not about me. If Antonio Brown is having a fight with me, it's not my role to sit here and share that with everybody. I still have to tell the story of Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger, whatever that story may be. And I'm using a Steelers example, which I'm sure will set everybody who's watching right now off. But isn't that part of the game? Aren't we supposed to rabble-rouse a little bit?
Yeah, you're right. We are. But that's why you're the pro that you are.
That's right.
I think she absolutely nailed that part of the story.
She's unbiased. Unlike me, I make every story about me, so let's do that right here, Aditi. Baker Mayfield, I don't even know if he knows I exist, but we've had a beef, or I've had a beef with his Twitter handle, and he blocked me on Twitter, and I don't care. I'm not a reporter. I don't need to have a relationship with him. And I think it's funny that he blocked me, so I don't care. But you've had a decent relationship, I believe, with Baker Mayfield, and unlike me, you've never been called a Baker Mayfield hater. So what do you make of the way he has handled himself on social media in the last few months, and what do you make of where he's going to end up in the next couple of months?
I love it, Bull, because I've been called both. I've been called a Baker Mayfield apologist, and I've been called a Baker Mayfield hater. So
that's how we know you're right down the middle.
That's how you know you're doing your job.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just how everybody in the AFC North thinks that I favor one of the other four teams.
Of course, yeah.
So I had multiple conversations with several teams leading up to the draft, and I will tell you that uniformly, every team I spoke to felt that Baker Mayfield was a better quarterback than any quarterback in the draft at that moment, and that Baker Mayfield, to his credit, had demonstrated success in the National Football League. And this is what's so important, right? We can project an athlete who comes out of college, but until he actually does it in the league, do we really know if he can? And Baker Mayfield, we know he can. We know what he was able to do in that 2020 season. We knew how the season progressed, how much better he got. And we also know the scope of the injuries that he was dealing with a year ago, and also the psychological piece of feeling like you're playing for a contract. And Bull, you and I have talked about this a lot. When you're playing for a contract, you can either be Bud Dupree, where you are raising your level and you are saying, okay, I am playing for my payday, or you get really tight and you get nervous. And it's, oh my goodness, I can't do anything wrong because I'm playing for that payday.
That's right.
So the thing with Baker, unfortunately, is that $18 million price tag, which, if you think about it, for a starting quarterback in the National Football League is not a lot of money.
No.
But teams that are looking for another quarterback, like let's say, for instance, the Carolina Panthers, are already paying somebody else that money.
Right.
And while you might be a general manager or a head coach who can kind of sit here and rationally think about it, you're always having to face ownership. And ownership might say, well, I don't want to pay this quarterback $20-something million to sit on the bench and pay the starter $18 million.
Especially when Baker's got 1 year.
Right.
Exactly. Ownership might say, well, this is a former first-round pick. I want to get as much as I possibly can out of this player, even if the market isn't necessarily there. So you're responding to a lot of different masters right there. I think the most important thing for Baker, so I think that from my conversations with the Browns, they're not feeling hard-pressed that we need to move him right now. Because whatever the national narrative is, Baker Mayfield is not a bad teammate. Baker Mayfield is not a bad human being, and Baker Mayfield is not a cancer. And Baker Mayfield is smart enough that if his best play is to show up to training camp, show that he is indeed a grown-up, show that he is indeed out there competing and ready to play, and is not looking to create any sort of fiction in a locker room, that only increases his value.
But has he been a grown-up?
Manager, why would you want to give him away? He's not going to give him away. Some quarterback might get hurt during training camp.
But has he shown?
Some team is going to be more needy at some point. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, I'm cutting you off. It's my fault. But I don't buy his maturity. I think you're right. It's been overplayed, the cancer in the locker room. G and I have heard from a couple of defensive players did sour on him. But I do think a lot of the offensive players are good with him. But I think he shows a lot of immaturity, especially off the field with what he says publicly, the fights he gets into with media members. I think he looks stupid a lot of times.
Okay, and that's fair, but don't we all get a chance to grow up?
But yes, but has he?
25, 26-year-old young man,
I was an idiot.
I'm so glad that at 26, I'm not in the national space right now.
Right.
And come on, let's be honest. I'm the mother of 2 children. I've crossed 40, and I grew up in the past year. I've grown up in the last month, I hope, since I left my job. And so we have to give Baker Mayfield the opportunity, recognizing that much of the perception is a little bit overblown, is a little bit exaggerated. And I will tell you this, anybody who's interested in Baker Mayfield can call Kevin Stefanski and get the true story. Kevin Stefanski is not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything, and he's not going to lie.
What would he say?
Because he knows that 2 years from now, he may be calling somebody else.
Aditi,
so if you're really interested, you can get the honest story from Kevin Stefanski.
Well, this is, I wanted to pitch you against some of the other AFC North teams. You said that everyone thinks that they have you have a little bit of a bias here. So let's get to this. If you have to rank the AFC quarterbacks. There we go. There it is. They see
AFC North
the AFC North quarterbacks, right? See, these guys with fluff stuff. I want to come into the hard-hitting stuff.
No, we're brown stuff. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Can you rank?
Underneath there, right?
Can you rank for me 1 to 4 in the division the top 4 starting quarterbacks in the AFC North?
Joe Burrow.
Wow.
Fair.
Number 1.
That's one.
Lamar Jackson is healthy. I don't know what Deshaun is. I don't know what Deshaun is yet. And I also don't know what Deshaun's availability is. And to me, the single most important thing is availability. Okay? If you're sitting on the bench, you're useless to me. If you're sitting at home, you're useless to me. So Do I think that Lamar Jackson brings some unbelievable dynamic athleticism? Yeah. Is he available? Is he healthy? What is he giving me? So that's a little bit of a question to me. Deshaun Watson, again, the question is I haven't seen him play in a year. I don't know what he's going to do in Kevin Stefanski's offense, and I don't know how much I have him. So that's why Joe Burrow, above all, right now, that's the easy number one. Number four, let's go this way, right? You ever write a story, Jay, where you start at the top and you finish it,
right?
I'm following your logic.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Number four, I'm really excited to see. I think that Mitch Trubisky starts the season, not Kenny Pickett.
I think we do
And
too.
I am really eager to see what Mitch Trubisky does with good coaching and after a year with Brian Daboll. And let me tell you that I love the Bills organization. I love the coaching there, and I completely trust Brian Daboll. And he has told me that I will love Mitch Trubisky, that Mitch Trubisky was never given a fair shake or a great opportunity in Chicago. I can tell you this, that inside the Steelers locker room right now, guys love him. They are responding to him, that he is approaching the playbook in every way you want him to approach it. But based on pure sheer talent, I don't know that he matches up with Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, he's a
four.
I would actually put Baker fourth, and then put,
I thought you were going to say that.
Well,
But Baker's
I mean-
not your starter. Deshaun's
well, that's
your
true.
starter.
But
I did not hear the name
And if-
Jacoby
and if
Brissett
Deshaun's
anywhere.
like
Did
starter,
anyone hear her
is
say Jacoby Brissett?
Jacoby
Yeah,
Brissett,
Jacoby Brissett
Aditi,
is
where are we
starter.
putting him? Eighth?
I hope he is not watching this while we all laugh.
Yeah,
and
he
we say
he hates us
the
already.
name of our probable starting
We're
quarterback
all
on week
getting
one.
blocked. Do you realize this? We are getting off this show, and every single one of us is going to be blocked on Twitter by all of these people.
Yeah,
That's
well,
true.
okay, that's the reality. It
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
will happen. Aditi, I want to go back to the Browns because this is something that we've debated the first couple days on our show, and I'm really anxious to get your take on this. I believe that and I'm told I'm crazy by everybody I pitch this to. I'm not saying that I believe this is going to happen, but I believe there is a scenario in which Baker Mayfield does start the season at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. You won't be the first to tell me I'm crazy, but I'm anxious to hear your reaction to that. Am I nuts? Is it possible?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, anything is
to which
possible,
one?
right, Jay? But I don't see it. I
You
don't
think
see
it's
it.
highly unlikely. See, my thing is,
I do.
you said something earlier that I want to go back to. They're not going to give Baker Mayfield away. They're not.
Right.
And we don't know the timeline of the suspension. Is it going to be announced before the season? We don't know. Nobody knows. If the Browns are faced with, let's just throw any number out there, 4 games, 8 games, I think it's more likely if the suspension is going to be for 8 games. If they're going to be on the hook for Baker Mayfield for $18 million, and it could end up that way even if they release him, it just seems to me that he's a better option than Jacoby Brissett, and it can be one of those situations where I know it's strange bedfellows, but the Browns need Baker, and you made this point, Baker needs the Browns. He needs an audition. He needs to prove, not that he can play, he's done that.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to prove, to your point, that he can be an adult in the room.
Yes, but I just don't see it happening. And again, I just think that it's a recognition that everybody could use a fresh, clean break right now. And the other point I'd make, Jay, is I think your offense changes for Deshaun Watson some. And I think that Jacoby Brissett and Josh Dobbs, because of how bright he
That's
is
a good
and
point.
what he
Yeah.
needs to learn, you move forward with that offense. And I think that with Baker, you do something different. So do you really want to do that? And
Yeah,
do you
that's a
really
very
want to
good point.
adjust midstream? I think you're better off sticking with your offense and doing what you want to do and having the other 10 guys on the field do what you ultimately want to do, whether you have Deshaun out for 4 games or 6 games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just think it's better. It's a clean break. It's nice. Everybody leave on a high note. You know? Let Baker Mayfield move on and
Time to
find
move
a
on.
new home.
Yeah. Well,
You're right.
I'll agree with that.
Hey, I wanted to get your take on Jarvis Landry because this has been, obviously they cut him. There was a report that they had offered him a decent contract to come back. He's just kind of hanging out there. I still think the Browns could use him, especially in that locker room. I don't look at Amari Cooper as like a leader of the wide receiver group. I think Jarvis still could be. Do you think there's any chance he comes back, and are you concerned if he doesn't?
Not concerned, but I would love to believe that the door never closes. I mean, I am, this is where the bias comes in. Like we sit here and we talk about what kind of shirt are you wearing and this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
But I love Jarvis Landry. I think that everything that Jarvis Landry brings to a team, beyond just his unbelievable toughness and his dependability and his reliability, and the guy that you can always throw the ball to and he will catch it, or he will make sure nobody else catches it. All of those things aside, I think that when you are a young team, you need certain personalities in your locker room to teach young players how to be pros, how to go about their job, what it means to be an NFL player. And to me, that carries so much value, and that's who Jarvis Landry is. So, I mean, again, I'll give you this. I had conversations with both members of the Ravens organization and the Steelers organization this past week. Are you bringing in Jarvis Landry? I love him, in all caps. All caps. So, I mean, I would love, 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 love to see him in a place that I would get to regularly see him, which means my backyard, I would hope. I'd love to see him in a place where he is valued and where every single attribute he brings matters. I think that everybody at this moment, whether it's him, whether it's you, Bull, whether it's me, we think about maximizing our value because we recognize we may not get to make money for the rest of our lives. And so Jarvis has to come to a spot where he decides what is he really comfortable with and what is he willing to take. And again, to his point, the same with Baker Mayfield. I don't think he has to feel some urgency right now that he needs to sign in the next week. He's allowed to take a little bit of time and see how much can he get out there and what's the best fit.
Aditi, if he goes to Pittsburgh and Mitch Trubisky and Jarvis Landry team up to kill the Browns for the next
say
5
that.
years,
Will you cry?
isn't that the
Will you
most
cry,
Cleveland
Ben?
thing ever?
It would be kind of
Like,
Cleveland.
Aditi,
Put it
that's,
out there.
that's what happens. It would be just like Pittsburgh to move on from Ben, one Ohio guy that is 150-0 against the Browns, and replace him with the guy from Menor, Ohio, that now takes over the reins from Ben and and throws to Jarvis Landry for 12 touchdowns a year.
Don't let that happen.
Yeah,
You
these
know,
are
but
the things we have
apparently,
nightmares
Ben
about.
Roethlisberger apparently is a little bit bitter at the Steelers right now. That's the local newspaper reporting. So maybe Ben is available. Would you rather have Ben?
Yeah, it's unreal.
We got to talk food with Aditi.
You got to.
We do?
Because Sam
Is she a big
Howell.
foodie?
There was, but here's the thing. It was Sam Howell, right?
Yeah.
Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders recently came out and said the only meat he eats is chicken.
That's it.
Which I thought was bizarre. Like, I've heard people say, I only eat fish. Some people don't like. I think you guys, maybe both of you said you don't like fish. Or
I don't
whatever.
eat seafood.
That's
period.
not-
But
Everybody
Aditi
seafood.
doesn't eat any meat.
No.
She's a vegetarian.
I've never seen you this upset.
Well, no, I'm not upset because
not
I've
friends
known that
anymore.
from. I've known that about her. I mean, I guess I'm a little offended.
Yeah.
As a massive meat eater, but no, I've known this for a while. What was the toughest of the meats to give up, Aditi?
Well, there wasn't. See, my parents are vegetarians.
Oh,
and so they
I didn't know
raised
you
us
were
to be
always a
It
vegetarian.
was passed down to her like
I
a
didn't
curse.
realize
Yes.
that.
And then
Like,
I
that's how
was
it
in middle
happened.
school. I was in middle school and I read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair on
Oh, bad
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And I thought, what do you mean bad move? It was okay.
You'd still be
great.
eating burgers if you didn't read Upton Sinclair.
But you know what? Hey, Prince Fielder is a vegetarian, and there are NFL players that are vegetarians, Adam.
Wait. Prince Fielder is
he's
like the
managed-
fattest guy ever in baseball.
Well, he became a vegetarian.
Oh, maybe
But
he's
he
not
embra-
fat
he-
anymore.
But he embraced
Everybody
it.
did.
To stay alive.
He absolutely
Yeah.
did.
I didn't know that.
Aditi,
Foster, I
Aditi.
believe Arian Foster is a vegetarian.
Look at
Yes,
that.
he is. And I'm not judging. I think, look, if that's your gig, then
She's healthy and in great shape.
at
Look
her.
at
She
me.
looks fantastic.
Forget it.
I
Is there
mean,
muscle
technically,
there?
Look at that.
Muscle.
She's got the
Technically,
guns.
yes.
guns
Potato
out,
chips.
guns out.
Potato chips are vegetarian options, by the way.
Thank you. They are.
Before we let you go, for those that know you well and have followed your career, we all learned recently on your Twitter that you, after more than a decade at the NFL, and by the way, I'm not saying this because you're here. I've said this for a very long time, and I have friends that I know personally that are reporters at the NFL, and they're great. They're wonderful. I love Sarah Walsh. I think that you were the shining star of all of their reporters. I was, on one hand, stunned to hear that you were leaving, but also excited to hear what's next, because I have no doubt your what's next is going to be phenomenal. Is there any way you can tease us a little bit? tell us anything at all about the future of your career, because we can't wait to see you again. I know we have you regularly here, which we're thrilled about, but I'm pretty sure that's not your primary next move.
What?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh wait, are you not pulling it? Are you telling me that I'm not getting paid when I thought I was getting paid?
No, whatever we told you you're getting paid, you're getting paid. But we can't wait. We know we're going to see you again.
Just like we all need to officially wait for the schedule release tonight, we are just going to have to wait a little bit longer for the next move.
Well played.
I will get this, though.
You get nothing.
I know how those work. I know how those things work. No, believe me, I get it, Aditi.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm hoping that I have enough time before the next move to learn how to play golf. Because I went out and I took my very first lesson yesterday, and I wore a Browns hat and a brown shirt while I did it.
Well, I've
here
been
in
trying
Pittsburgh.
to figure that game out for 55 years, so I hope your next move is sooner than 55 years, because you never master that sport. You just learn to love it and hate it at the same time.
I guess that's what it is. Yes. Yeah. No. You and my son, Jay. Just so you know, my 6-year-old keeps coming home every day. Okay, mommy. Mommy, where are you going to work? Mommy, what are you going to do? Mommy, are you still going to be on a football field? And I don't trust him. I just feel like he's got this.
Yeah, he's going to spill it to the whole elementary school.
As long as he doesn't have social media yet, I think you're okay.
He'll be tweeting at Daryl Ryder.
Poor Daryl.
Aditi, this is going to be a lovely relationship. I'm glad to see you in Browns gear. Browns fans have grown to love you because you're so knowledgeable on the division, which we call home. Thank you so much for coming on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports
Love
Show.
you. You're the
Thank
best.
you. Thank you.
All right, wait, but Jay, really quickly, let me just make a really quick plug. Next Wednesday, Browns.com is going to do interviews with every single rookie. So if you want to get to know your new Browns better, Nathan Zagura is interviewing every single brand new Browns player. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. on Browns.com. And
awesome.
I'll actually be at the stadium with Kevin Stefanski for a chalk talk. So I don't know who's invited, but if you come hang out.
So you'll be in Cleveland next week.
I will.
So which
Wednesday.
day can we write your name and pen in on our schedule?
We'll get back on that one. I'll text you. Called. Sorry, I got to go pick up somebody at preschool. Bye, guys.
Bye, Aditi.
We're never gonna get a woman to visit us.
She will.
No, you know
She
what?
will.
Mike walked in here yesterday, and he goes, "Yeah, starting to smell like a locker room."
So it smells like dudes in here.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
We
smell
have
like
a
dudes in
woman.
here.
We
I
do
know.
have one woman.
Yes, we
We
absolutely
have one.
do.
She needs to wear more like woman deodorant or something to balance us out because it smells like Old
I mean, it's
Spice.
hard. It's like 10
pH
versus 1
balance
right
for
now.
me.
Yeah, it's not pH balance in this room.